What if I told you that the worst report card your child ever brought home could be the beginning of their greatest transformation? That the moment you feel like you've failed as a parent might actually be when real growth begins. Today, I'm going to share with you a perspective on parenting and education that goes against everything modern society tells us about success, achievement, and what our children truly need to thrive. By the end of this video, you'll understand why sometimes the best thing we can do for our children is not to shield them from struggle, but to help them find their own path through it. This isn't about being a perfect parent. It's about being present in ways that actually matter. We live in an age of constant pressure and perpetual motion. Parents today are juggling careers, household responsibilities, financial obligations, and the overwhelming expectation to raise exceptional children who excel at everything. We've been sold this narrative that if we just work hard enough, earn enough money, and provide enough opportunities, our children will automatically flourish. But what happens when that formula fails? What happens when, despite all our efforts and all our sacrifices, we look up one day and realize we've lost connection with the very people we're working so hard to support? The story I'm about to explore with you isn't just about two children who struggled in school. It's about the invisible crisis happening in homes across the world right now. It's about the gap that forms between parents and children when survival mode becomes the default setting. And most importantly, it's about discovering that sometimes the answers we desperately seek aren't found in expensive tutors, stricter discipline, or longer working hours. Sometimes the answers come from the most unexpected places, teaching us that connection and understanding matter more than we ever imagined. Let's talk about something that nobody wants to admit, but everyone feels. There's a profound paradox at the heart of modern parenting. We work ourselves to exhaustion to provide for our children, to give them opportunities we never had, to ensure they have every advantage in an increasingly competitive world. We sacrifice time with them today for the promise of a better tomorrow. We miss bedtime stories because we're working late to afford better schools. We skip family dinners because we're building careers that will supposedly secure their futures. And then, one day, we receive that phone call from the principal, or we notice our children pulling away from us. And we realize that somewhere along the way, something fundamental went wrong. The challenge isn't that parents don't love their children or don't want what's best for them. The challenge is that we've created a society where being a present, engaged parent has become almost impossible for most families. The economic realities of modern life demand that both parents work, often in demanding jobs that consume not just our time but our emotional energy. We come home exhausted, depleted, with nothing left to give except maybe a quick check on homework before collapsing into bed ourselves. And our children, sensing this exhaustion, learn not to burden us with their struggles, their questions, their need for guidance and connection. What makes this situation even more heartbreaking is the guilt that accompanies it. Parents carry this weight of knowing they're not showing up the way they want to, not being the parents they imagined they would be. And when their children begin to struggle academically, behaviorally, or emotionally, that guilt transforms into panic. We react with the only tools we have available: scolding, punishment, threats, or desperately searching for external solutions like tutors or stricter schools. But these responses often miss the fundamental issue entirely. Children don't just need instruction or discipline. They need presence, attention, someone who sees them not as a problem to be fixed, but as a person trying to navigate a confusing world. When children start failing, our instinct is to look for external fixes. We immediately think about hiring tutors, changing schools, implementing reward systems, or creating elaborate study schedules. These solutions feel concrete and actionable. They give us the sense that we're doing something, taking control of a situation that feels out of control. But here's what we often fail to recognize. These external interventions frequently address symptoms rather than root causes. A child who isn't learning isn't necessarily lacking access to information or instruction. Often, they're lacking something much more fundamental: the emotional security, the confidence, and the relational foundation that makes learning possible in the first place. Think about how learning actually works. Real learning doesn't happen through force or fear. It happens when a child feels safe enough to ask questions, when they trust that making mistakes won't result in punishment or disappointment, when they have someone who believes in their capability even when they don't believe in themselves. The most effective teaching relationships aren't built on authority or expertise alone. They're built on connection, patience, and genuine care for the student as a whole person. This is why some teachers transform students' lives while others, equally qualified on paper, never make a lasting impact. The difference isn't in their teaching methods or credentials. It's in their ability to see the student, to create a space where learning feels safe and possible. When we rely solely on external solutions, we risk communicating something damaging to our children. We inadvertently tell them that they are the problem, that something is wrong with them that needs to be fixed by outside experts. We teach them to seek answers outside themselves, rather than developing their own internal resources, resilience, and problem-solving capabilities. And perhaps most significantly, we miss the opportunity to be the primary source of support and guidance in their lives. We outsource the relationship building and trust building that would actually create the foundation for their long-term success and well-being. Here's where the story takes a fascinating turn that challenges everything we think we know about education and growth. Sometimes the most profound learning happens in the most unexpected places and through the most unlikely teachers. When children find themselves in an environment where they feel truly seen, where their questions are welcomed rather than dismissed, where learning is approached with patience and even joy, something remarkable happens. Their entire relationship with education transforms. Subjects that once seemed impossible become manageable. Challenges that once triggered anxiety become opportunities for discovery. What makes an environment truly conducive to learning? It's not about having the most resources or the most impressive credentials. It's about creating a space where curiosity is encouraged, where mistakes are treated as natural parts of the learning process, where the teacher genuinely cares about each student's understanding and progress. When children encounter this kind of environment, even in the most unlikely circumstances, they blossom. They discover capabilities within themselves they didn't know existed. They develop confidence not just in specific subjects, but in their fundamental ability to learn and grow. This reveals something crucial about human development that we often overlook in our achievement-obsessed culture. Children don't need perfection from their parents or teachers. They don't need every advantage or opportunity. What they need is consistency, presence, and genuine belief in their potential. They need adults who show up for them not just with instruction, but with attention and care. They need to know that someone sees their struggles and believes they're capable of overcoming them. When children have this foundation, they can learn almost anything. Without it, even the most expensive education and the most qualified tutors often fail to create lasting change. The moment of transformation often comes when parents finally see their children clearly, not as problems to be solved or projects to be managed, but as people who have been finding their own way through difficulties while their parents were too busy or too stressed to notice. This recognition can be humbling and painful. It forces us to confront the gap between the parent we wanted to be and the parent we've actually been. But it also opens the door to real change, not through grand gestures or dramatic shifts, but through the simple decision to show up differently, to prioritize presence over productivity, to value connection over achievement. What does this actually look like in practice? It means coming home from work and having real conversations instead of just checking off the homework completion box. It means asking questions and actually listening to the answers without immediately jumping to solutions or lectures. It means acknowledging when we've been absent or distracted and making genuine efforts to be more present. It means recognizing that our children's academic performance is often a reflection of their emotional state and their sense of being supported, not just their intellectual capability or work ethic. The truth is, there's no perfect formula for parenting or education. Every family faces unique challenges and constraints. But what remains universally true is this: children need to feel seen, valued, and supported by the adults in their lives. When they have that foundation, they can overcome remarkable obstacles and discover. The question isn't whether we can be perfect parents. The question is whether we can be present ones, showing up with attention, patience, and genuine care for the young people we're privileged to guide through this complex world.